This episode of The Biggest Table is brought to you in part by Wild Goose Coffee. Since 2008, Wild Goose has sought to build better communities through coffee. For our listeners, Wild Goose is offering a special promotion of 20% off a one-time order using the code TABLE at checkout. To learn more and to order coffee, please visit wildgoosecoffee.com. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Chef Nephi Craig. Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Biggest Table. I am your host, Andrew Camp. In this podcast, we explore the table, food, eating, and hospitality as an arena for experiencing God's love and our love for one another. And today, I'm joined by Nephi Craig. Nephi is the executive chef of Café Gozhóó in Whiteriver, Arizona on the White Mountain Apache Tribe. He is also an advanced certified relapse prevention specialist and a behavioral health technician currently serving as the nutritional recovery program coordinator at the Rainbow Treatment Center. Craig is also the founder of the Native American Culinary Association, an organization that is dedicated to the research, refinement, and development of Native American cuisine. His work has been recognized in national and international publications such as Newsweek, Forbes, Food and Wine, and The Guardian. So thanks for joining me today, Nephi. Really been looking forward to this conversation since I was able to get an advanced copy of your book.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me on and allowing me to speak and share a little bit about the book and, how the process went and all that neat stuff.
Yeah. So your memoir, Our Knives Will Save Us, is out today. So congratulations. The book has been garnering a lot of great press. I think New York Times had it as one of the must reads for the summer. But your book is really about your journey into healing, which is simultaneously tied to your recovery from addiction and into discovery of cooking with indigenous foods. You write, you want to bring truth to the table and to your life. And so it's a beautiful story. I feel privileged to be able to get a glimpse into it. And so without spoiling the book, share with the listeners a bit about your journey.
Yeah, well, I wanted to write Our Knives Will Save Us as a tool. All my professional cooking career now, which is 28 years, it's always been like the obvious route to go do a cookbook someday. And I still would like to do that, but I think at every juncture for the past 20 years, I haven't felt, quote, ready to do a cookbook.
Right.
And in the time frame of 20 years, so much has happened. I've been sober 15 years, and it's been this process of learning and the foods kind of guiding me to some of my own cultural intuition answers, And so I wanted to write a story that was about the ingredients of a chef, so to speak, not just the ingredients on a plate.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to have it a message to others that are in the struggle, are considering becoming a chef, or are chefs, or are mental health professionals, or community members. Somehow, in some way, we're all impacted by behavioral health, mental health, and addiction issues. So I wanted it to be a tool, a multi-dimensional look at being a human person, an indigenous person, and that happens to be a chef, So I hope it came together pretty good, and we'll see what people think.
It came together beautifully, and it is this beautiful, ugly story in some respects, because you do share all the darkest moments of your life tied up with an addiction. Your story is tied up with, your addiction, seeking recovery, relapse. What eventually helped you come to the grips that you can't continue in this life of addiction and drinking and drugs?
Oh man. So I've learned so much in my past 10 years as a BHT and a relapse prevention specialist. I know now that, like back then, I know now that dependency is a learned behavior, that there's dependency before active addiction and it snowballs. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I feel like being able to be enabled, or a lack of accountability, or being let off the hook, not paying full consequences as an adolescent, teen, and young adult, contributes to that lifestyle. And you start to believe and think that the rules don't apply. Mm-hmm. And the more consequences stack up, the heavier it gets, it seems like that doesn't even matter. My journey is probably like from, I'd say like probably like 14 years old all the way until 31. And I had maybe like 1 year of abstinence. And I say abstinence because it wasn't recovery.
Right.
It was just living clean. And so it took a long time for it to stick for me. And I struggled with relapse over and over and over. I think from the time it became a problem in my early 20s, all the way, every single moment, I wanted to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wanted to stop, but part of me also didn't want to stop. Part of me was not willing, not ready, and afraid to live in peace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because chaos can be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took a long time, but I know that at every treatment center I was in, or every moment of therapeutic encounter, I was learning, and it was going in. Information was going in.
Right.
I've always had a love for words and writing. Like, I wrote a book, you know, and so I could understand and comprehend the terms being thrown at me as a client or patient.
Mm-hmm.
And in those moments where I was down and out and wanted to stop, I really appreciated learning these new terms, being curious about what makes me tick. Why can't I stop? So I would investigate all these things, you know, all these stints trying to get clean. And I didn't know that was my way of educating myself and continuing my education until I nailed it. I make the metaphor like it's like skateboarding. You keep trying to trick over and over and over, and you break yourself off, and broken bones and blood, sweat, tears, and then you land it, and it's on to the next trick.
Right.
But it's kind of similar, and I feel like entering into sobriety when I was 31, I wanted to do something different. I had finally just given up, really, and wanted something different.
I appreciate that because, it is just a vicious cycle, and it is little steps at various times. But throughout the book, you mentioned that in the midst of your struggles, that cooking always made sense to you. That when you donned the chef's coat, that something made sense. In the midst of trying, chaos, that the kitchen provided something. And so and as a former cook myself, like when you're in the kitchen, there is something, and when you're that adrenaline rush of service and creativity. So like, what was it for you that like cooking became the place of your healing, and continues to be a place of healing for you? Like, what is it about the kitchen that drew you in?
Well, I got into professional cooking by pure chance. Life pushed me into a corner, as you read in the book.
Yeah.
I had been cooking since I was a kid, but I didn't have really any solid plans to go to a cooking school. I was just floating and wanting to be in the city and start my life and do it my way. And my way ended up in a bad way. So I had to, make a decision. And I just looked at it real logically. Like, my grades weren't good. I like art. I like science, photography, and writing. But my grades were terrible. I didn't even take my SATs. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I was like, what can I do? And I knew there was a cooking program in Scottsdale. And I went ahead and said, all right, well, I've been cooking my whole life. I'll give this a shot. Just keep the system off my back. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when I got into it, it was apparent right away that I liked it. And it was totally new and scary.
Mm-hmm.
There was everyday things that seemed like every other culinary student that was non-native knew the terms and the foods they were talking about. It was all new to me as a new language, but I could pick up the techniques and the cooking really well,
right?
Pretty quickly, and I really liked it. It's always been curious, and food was always a way to stimulate my imagination and my hunger. And I was cooking since I was a little guy. But getting in professional kitchens, when I was young, I wanted to go to the Marines like my dad.
Okay.
And my dad being a Marine, he was always disciplined and organized, and all this neat stuff he brought into our lives as a United States Marine Corps sergeant. And so I really looked up to him for what and who he was. And I wanted to go that route. One side of me to make him proud, but one side of me to also be like him. You know what I mean? But that the incident, the judge's mandates and the felony charges, it was a deterrent. It was like, who's going to take you? You're on felony probation. So that wasn't an option. But when I got into the kitchens and was starting to do a little bit more reading on my own, I began to see that it was a very structured and disciplined environment. And if you wanted to be really, really good, you got to be really disciplined.
Yeah.
So I write in the book how, like, all my youthful encounters with the police, and then when I went to that kitchen, Mary Elaine's, the look in their eyes, like disciplined cops or DPS officers.
Yeah. Yep.
And when I was a kid, I was at Camp Pendleton at the Devil Pups program as a juvenile. Where you go to the Camp Pendleton and you're a Marine for 2 weeks, basically, as a teenager. It's cool. So I saw that same steely-eyed look in the drill instructors at Camp Pendleton, and the DPS officers and the cops I encountered, and then the young chefs at Mary Elaine's, and my culinary instructor at Scottsdale Community College that I liked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he didn't like me because I was always hungover and high.
Right.
But it's neat because he is the one in that story that comes full circle and sees me in that kitchen. You know what I mean? But I like the discipline, the rigor, this is 1998, 99. So it's still very vulgar and foul-mouthed and racist and sexist and violent and all that crap,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm okay with that because I'm culture from the streets of skateboarding and the res and my rowdy crew I hang out with. It's comfortable there for me.
Right.
But I realize that I'm fast and I'm organized. I keep my knives clean, and I see it's kind of like wrestling or my experiences in the Devil Pups, where I didn't have to be a really big, tall guy to be strong. You know what I mean? Yeah. I could be mentally strong. I could be emotionally strong. I could be smart and be fast and still be stronger than people around me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And cooking showed me that. It made me feel good.
It does, and once there is, unless you've experienced it, working in a kitchen is unlike, anything I've ever experienced, and the speed, the rigor, the discipline, the organization it does require is important. But there's also the people that shape us, the chefs we work for. And, and your book does, I think what I loved is those chefs that continually believed in you, even when you were in a self-destructive mode, and that's part of the beauty of the book too, of like the people that shaped you in the midst of this discovery. Like who stands out? You mentioned your culinary instructor, but there were a few others that like always went to bat for you. Who are those chefs that you continually, that will always be chef so-and-so to you? Like for me, one of my first chefs I worked for is always Chef Gary. Like I've not worked for him for over a decade, but I always refer to him as Chef Gary. Like he's chef to me. Like who are those people in your journey that, stand out for you?
Man, it was it was easy, but it was also kind of difficult to pinpoint these people. Right. Definitely Chef Chris Olson at the Country Club at DC Ranch. Yeah. He was the one that really gave me multiple chances, coached me along, was probably definitely annoyed with me at times and angry and upset, and you know what I mean? And the Country Club at DC Ranch was my first job, and I could not see the caliber of quality. It was a little bit better. It was better than daytime at school because I was going to school full time in the daytime, and then I would leave and go to work at night. And it was night and day, but at school they're teaching you the ideal to strive for, like the base ideal. You know what I mean? Yeah. You think everything's going to be like that. Then I lucked out and got that job with Chris Olson, and it was beyond that. It was better. Not all people end up like that. You end up like at a Marriott and you're opening cans or some banquet kitchen, some really terrible kitchen. So I was lucky. And Chef Olson was always very professional, very fair, very organized and disciplined. He trusted his team. And as a kid, you don't really know you're soaking that up. You're just kind of going with it. So I stayed there almost 5 years. And from there, that's when I went on to Mary Elaine's at the Phoenician. And Chef Olson there, and then the sous chef that I write about, Rusty, who got me the stage that led to being offered a job, you know. He was cool. He was a rowdy guy like me when he was young. And you know what I mean? For whatever reason, he set that up, and it worked out. And so that was really cool. Then my other chef, Brad Thompson, that was a big kitchen with a lot of other chefs that were extremely qualified from great kitchens all over America. And so you're kind of just there as side noise. As for me, as an entremetier, I was the veg guy on the meat station.
Okay.
And I didn't have too many conversations with Chef Thompson. It was just all production all the time. My partner on the station that I write about was from, had worked at the French Laundry, and that was like where I was wanting to go. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that was like, in my mind, I was I was there. If I could do well with this dude, maybe I'll get a reference. You know what I mean? So Chef Thompson was fair, and he helped me out along the way. And I think he saw, because he spent multiple years in New York City and been around a multitude of personalities, ethnic backgrounds, and just all the chaos of New York and kitchens at Danielle. And so I think he saw potential and talent, backed with my partner's stamp of approval on the meat station and the work. So that place was life-changing. I knew the caliber of it when I was going in. It wasn't like the Country Club at DC Ranch when I didn't know. I had studied this place since culinary school. I had gone up and gotten menus and visited the place a bunch of times. So it was, I knew what I was getting into in a sense, but I didn't know what I was getting into. Like I knew the surface of what the public knew about the place. I knew the legacy of chefs that started it and were there, and I heard all these war stories from other chefs. So I wanted to be there too. Like, Chris Olson, Chef Rusty, Brad Thompson. There's been a lot of great chefs. Then after that, it's a whole bunch of other people I've encountered along the way. There's been numerous native chefs, different scholars, farmers, all kinds of great people have come into my life and shared information. Multiple community members on dozens and dozens of reservations that I traveled to study. Sharing their stories, you know what I mean? Trusting me enough to share some of their background, their culture, and their history, because I'm a cook, you know what I mean? And I kind of we look alike, you know what I mean? I don't show up with an entourage. I don't show up with X, Y, and Z. I show up how I am, and from the res, and you can pick that up real quick, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of a little quicker pass, I think. And then the food just equalizes us, and you know what I mean? So it's always about sharing and stuff. So I've been real lucky to be able to have those kind of mentors too.
For sure. Because part of your journey is, like you said, you wanted to get to that French Laundry, work your way up the traditional culinary route, or the white man's world probably, but then you began to realize, the indigenous food ways that are sort of inherent into European and American food. And so like what ultimately led you to realize like the indigenous food might be more healing for you and, in that route versus chasing the culinary dream of like the French Laundry or the 3 Michelin star restaurants?
Well, I definitely could sense that early on. Like I write about it in the book, like learning that the tomato is not Italian and just freaking out like, what? Oh my God, tomatoes native like me, you know what I mean? That was my young kid sentiment. But then I grow up in my community where like you go to any hospital on the res, there's posters plastered everywhere about diabetes prevention, heart disease, obesity, all kinds of health disparities. And you it just goes in and you see it, and you ultimately are impacted with it by members of your family that might have diabetes or other illnesses. So it was there in the back of my mind as a kid. So as I began to question which foods are native to the Americas. I began to see more and more vegetables. I was like, oh man, this would be cool for diabetes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no real deep articulation of that yet.
Yeah.
But you just feel it, I guess. You just feel it culturally or spiritually or your intuition. Yeah. So, but as I got deeper into it and things began to happen and I was encountering different losses, there was no choice in some way. When I was young and even now, I know the fact that what we do with native foods, the application that I've been applying to native foods like the past 28 years has been for health, mental health, public health. Yeah. There's epidemiological components to it. You know what I mean? There's public health components to it. There's anthropological components to it. And now where we're at here in Café Gozhóó in Whiteriver on the White Mountain Apache Tribe, it's definitely doing those high caliber, it's employing all of those high caliber principles that the award systems use or say they use. Yeah. And more, you know what I mean? And more. So in a sense, it's not that they've stopped chasing it. It's just we're doing our own thing. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And it's kind of, it's attached to its own stigma too, because some people don't want to talk about addiction. Some people would rather dismiss mental health issues or dismiss behavioral health or dismiss alcoholism or active addiction as being weak, which is, not true. So I feel like we've been doing spiritually Michelin caliber work and beyond. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah. That's big to say, but I don't care, man. That's what we do. We're natives, we're Apaches, and we're Navajos, and that's just inherently a part of us. You know what I mean? To care for the land and for each other. Right. So I think it's definitely, we'll probably see, in 5, 10, 20 years, some native spots getting awarded, those kind of accolades. Yeah. But we've been there the whole time. You know what I mean? We've been there the whole time. Yeah. And go ahead. Yeah.
No, because you're right that, the Apache people, your Apache culture is rooted in an intimate and strategic relationship to land, water, and food. That you've always, the Apache people have always been attached to the land, and we, our colonization, has usurped, stolen, robbed you, and all indigenous people of their culture. And so, like, how has colonization impacted the story of the Apache people's foods and maybe indigenous people in general?
So colonization isn't just the component of settling and developing land, right? Colonization is violence. It's violence, oppression, it's imperialism, it's capitalism, all rolled into one mean monster. You know what I mean? And this mean monster has a beautiful face. Yeah. Because it looks appealing. It looks like progress. It looks like civilization, but it's not. It's devouring everything in its path to keep itself alive. And if since colonialism is that monster, it's gonna do anything in its power to stay alive, right? Yeah. And so colonization is the first act of violence, and the trauma that ensues, the grief that comes with it, the loss that comes with it, those all materialize physically into colonialism in my mind, like alcoholism. You know what I mean? Yep. And you lose land, water, people, ceremony, song. We've lost so many different elements of who we are that we probably don't even know what we've lost. And we've retained a lot as well. And so our world is shaped by colonization today. I think I mentioned it in the book. I say the world ended once for native peoples, and we're on the other side of the apocalypse. So now when we look around in the big metropolis cities, it's like, this is the native wasteland. Like I write, and one of the guys in Portland said, yeah, he used to call Portland the native wasteland because it's just after all this fallout. But colonization is definitely a violent phenomenon for the people that are being colonized. and you have no, if you're going to survive it, in most cases, you have no choice but to assimilate, become a part of, and you lose who you are in that process. And that happens all the time. It's ongoing. It's intergenerational.
Yeah.
And it's a contributing factor to so many health disparities across Native America. And we've been looking at it as Native professionals for the past 20 years, but it's happening more now than it has in the past. Like these kind of conversations around colonization, decolonization, truth and food and Native contributions to the world, they were dangerous conversations in the 50s.
Right.
They were very dangerous. They might have been lethal conversations in the 20s for us. You know what I mean? Not just for me, but even for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a little bit safer now, in a way, to speak on decolonization and strategies for resurgence, cultural resurgence and health. And it's gonna be an intergenerational thing. But it does have lasting impacts on us in our reality.
And so for you with the story then of Indigenous food, like, it's you write that it's violent and terrible, yet ordinary, beautiful, and poetic. And so you've spoken on the ugly and the violent and the terrible, but like what's the beauty and the ordinariness and the poetic that you want listeners and people who read your book to pick up about Indigenous food?
I think that Indigenous foods call us back. I think they have the power to call us back and teach us about ourselves. Only if we listen, though, if we're ready and willing. Indigenous foods will teach you the truth of your region, wherever you are in the Americas or the world. If you look at any of these indigenous cultivars and you ask, where do they come from? How did they get here? How long have we been eating them? You're going to find a bloody trail. From beans and squash and polenta and tomatoes in Tuscany, all that trace all the way back to Mesoamerica, and the colonization there, right? And then same thing with chocolate, chilies, all these foods that have stimulated world cuisines. When you follow them, they have lessons to teach. And so the ordinary and the poetic is that they call us back just by being who they are. And they've always been there. I think they activate us. They activate a part of our genetic memory. Because like in some of the public health research, right, they say that Native Americans are susceptible to diabetes because flour, lard, sugar, coffee, alcohol, these things have not genetically been a part of our makeup, our genetic makeup for, no longer than 300 years. And Europeans have been eating these things for millennia. So when we get violently colonized, forced to stand in line, forced to eat these foods, just naturally our body's adapting and changing. And that's a cycle of food choices that has negative consequences. Sure, we're going to end up with these health disparities. But so that's just kind of an example of how foods that are not native to our region can impact our bodies. But I think to go back to that core part of the question, it's just like they're there, they're waiting for us. They haven't forgotten about us. Like when you taste things, you ask yourself, why did Apaches like this flavor? You taste things and say, why did this survive colonization? Why is this still a part of our community? And the questions or the answers, it alludes to a lot of different values of the people and the region and everything. So to me, it's an example of how everyday life can have some really profound lessons when you're working with foods. And you kind of, it's definitely a journey because you never get all of these things at once. You're building a relationship over a long period of time with foods, with landscape, with people, with community. And it's peppered along the way with all these little memories. And you come to realization, it's like, oh my gosh, this has been here the whole time. And you see how powerful it is when you're ready. You know what I mean? And that's cool because that's how elders are too. Native elders, they won't just sit you down and start teaching you. They're going to offer the lessons as life happens. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool like that.
I love how you touched on that, the food calls us back to remembering. I've been reading a book on flavor and like the fact that like, flavor and smell and taste, like it's stored in like the deep recesses
Yeah,
of our brains, whereas like touch and sight are like, I think, more frontal.
yeah,
And so like food, the smells, the memories, like they're deeply ingrained within us. And at Café Gozhóó, you're helping people recover and heal. And so like what you had an opportunity to go to DC to be the executive chef at the Smithsonian Indigenous Museum, and yet you chose to stay and to help your community. And so what is Café Gozhóó, and what is it about the culinary training that is helping people recover?
oh man, there's the opportunity to go to Washington D.C. was very, very, very appealing.
I
Like
bet.
I really, really seriously considered it, wanted to do it. It was like I thought it was going to be, or in my mind then, it was my opportunity to um, prove myself and bring myself back.
Mm-hmm.
But I also had to remember to be accountable to my sobriety.
Mm.
And I had to, because like for me, when I got sober, when that opportunity came, I was about 4 years sober, I think 3.5, 4 years sober. And I was so grateful for the changes in my life. I looked at, see, because when I lost my father, then I went back to Sunrise, and then I started working, and then this transformational process began to happen because I was doing my part, right? It just didn't
Yeah.
happen because I stopped drinking. I like really just, and I just really just started to do things different.
Mm-hmm.
There's a saying in recovery circles, nothing changes if nothing changes. And I took that to heart, literally.
Yeah.
Like I stopped sleeping in, kept jogging, I kept running, I kept exercising. I stopped talking back. I minimized my sarcasm as much as I could, I minimized my cynicism.
Mm.
Um, I made a deliberate attempt to be more kind and
Yeah.
grateful because I had just seen the strongest person in my life pass away,
Right.
and I knew life was short at that moment. And so when that opportunity came, it I couldn't forget where this newfound reality or strength came from.
Yeah.
And I had been struggling for so long to try to get recovery and sobriety to stick for me and for myself that I was just so grateful for it. That it was something as simple as Kepri beans or wild tea or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Spring water or being
Mm-hmm.
in the mountains. And I didn't want to export that. I call it technology.
Yeah.
I didn't want to export that information and resource. I wanted to continue to circulate it at home.
Mm.
And so I chose to, and being a skater, I'm like, F the system, man. I'm gonna go down the dark recesses and find my own path to thrash.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because I was like, it's scary, it's
Mm-hmm.
daunting, it's substance abuse treatment and culinary arts.
Right.
Everyone talks and says culinary arts is notorious for drinking and drugging. Everyone in my life, in my society, and in the culinary world up to that point is about it, loves it.
Yeah.
The excuse play hard, party hard, or
Yep.
work hard, party hard, whatever,
Yep.
work hard, play hard is common.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Bourdain culture is still very much alive and well. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Kitchen Confidential culture, all that stuff. And so I was like, I want to go against that.
Yeah.
We planted some seeds with the NACA conferences. We've
Yeah.
connected a lot of people, and I'm going to go. They can grow the culture that way. I'm going to go into mental health because I know there's profound lessons. I know there's these things that saved my life.
Yeah.
And I want to be a specialist of some sort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I did.
And so then you're carrying forth this work. And so like, I think the culinary world has changed. I think people are realizing that strict hierarchical totalitarian, atmosphere is not conducive to health. And so like as you've thought about growing and, helping people at Café Gozhóó, like what did you need to unlearn to like be able to create an atmosphere where people might find joy and healing versus like cower under, the watchful eye of the chef and the yelling?
That is a great question, and I'm glad you said, what did I have to unlearn? Because recovery is about more unlearning than learning.
Yeah.
It's simultaneous, because everything, like I said in the beginning, addiction, dependency, violence, are learned behaviors, which the only good thing about that is that we can unlearn it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about undoing a lifetime of habits and behaviors, and it's tough. So creating Café Gozhóó, it was a distillation of all these experiences of being in and out of clinical environments and correctional institutions and probation and all these things as a client or probationer, as a patient. So I kind of had that insider's perspective, but I also knew that the foods were central, and even if they weren't the main focus, they still had a very extremely powerful central contributing element to recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they weren't being eaten on a regular basis, they could still be talked about and connected with, and seeds were planted in people's minds, and they would still go and do that. They would bring it back, right?
Yeah.
Because Native Foods is connected to everything that we are. Our landscape as White Mountain Apaches determines who we are. Mm-hmm. There's a term I say is landscape is destiny. Mm-hmm. And when you study the landscape, you see your path forward. So concepts like that had to be woven into the system at Café Gozhóó. I've always appreciated classic French cuisine as a fine art. Yeah. That's like why I got into it. I always heard like people say master painter, master carpenter, master dancer, master artist, kung fu master, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
yep.
As a kid, I'm like, cool, man, I could be a master. Like, I got to give my life to something. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I was like, I think I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so like 46 years old now, 28 years in, I don't feel like a master, but I feel like it's a masterful thing. And I like that old school, see, I was raised in that original kind of French brigade ethos back then. And I decided when we created Café Gozhóó that we're going to utilize those brigade terms. Mm-hmm. Chef de partie, chef de cuisine, commis, kitchen porter, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And introduce like poissonnier, those things. But it's not a hierarchical structure. It's not, tyrannical, mean, ego-driven Nephi at the top of the pyramid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's focused on collaborative effort. So we've kept the best qualities of those positions and how they contribute to the team, and how it's interdependence, not dependence, right?
Yeah.
And we operate like a chain, like a circle. And instead of a pyramid, it's a circle. And in the middle is striving for excellence, no matter what it is we do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the hierarchical structure is. We've kept the names, some of the titles, and focus on the best qualities of those titles, because the best qualities of those titles are human behaviors and characteristics. Any human can behave, discipline, organization, toughness, compassion, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And be a good chef de partie or a good sous chef. So we want to keep those components and eliminate the hierarchy pyramid, you know what I mean? And that's just being native. That's just how we think, you know what I mean?
Explain more of like, that's how you think, just because, I'm not native.
Our right, even now today, and our ancestral paradigm, Apache paradigm, is very autonomous. We as pre-reservation, no central government, no central one leader, president, tyrant, whatever. It's autonomous family bands and clan families, led by clan mothers and grandfathers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That have this intimate relationship with the land. Leaders were chosen by their knowledge of the land and food and waters and medicine. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Not by power, property, and prestige.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's inherently there, and we sense it in different ways, I think, when we're interacting with each other as natives. Yeah. There's like this unspoken protocol, You know what I mean? We
Right.
sense it and feel it, and it's cultural. So trying to tap into that, not only I got like that aha moment was really apparent at sunrise, and I write
Mm.
about it a little bit in the book, like saying like I had to like operate differently, and
Right.
then I got good at that. Then I was like, okay, we can add this clinical dimension,
Mm-hmm.
and we created Café Gozhóó, and Café Gozhóó. I'm sure you've seen some of the pictures on social media. Have you been in to join us yet?
Not yet. I need to get out there, take a
Yeah,
day.
if you do, come and I'll show you around the kitchen.
Yeah.
But it's really, it's a very beautiful kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
High caliber equipment, very, very beautiful. And I designed the whole place. Like I had the opportunity to design the dining room, everything in there. I had the opportunity, and I knew from my years of relapsing, and I knew from all the friends that I had met in recovery that had died from
Mm-hmm.
relapse. I knew that whatever we were going to create was going to be either end of life care or beginning of life care.
Mm.
And we had no idea, no way of knowing which side of the scale that was going to be on. And so if it was going to be end of life care, I wanted it to be the best environment.
Right.
If it was going to be beginning of life care, I wanted it to be the best environment because I had just come from recovering from the loss of my dad, you know what I mean? And dealing with healthcare then. And then the mental health and all these people passing away from addiction. I wanted it to be a clinical environment that was beautiful. So we built it in a way that is not to be chefy. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're not striving to be Michelin. We're not trying. We didn't build it to attract any of those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
We built it to a clinical standard so that people will know quality and organization and discipline from the get-go.
Right.
So when you look at those pictures, it's a clinical environment, but it's also a cafe, and it's for recovery, and it's for natives. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. I mean, it's not just for natives, but it's open to the public.
Right.
People ask me all that time, do you have to be native to come and eat there? I'm like, oh man, it's open to the public.
And you're striving to give work balance where you're operating most days 8 to 5. You're not, you're trying to, because again, part of the chef life is we work when everybody else is playing or celebrating, and so just creating that different environment and saying, like bucking the trend, saying, no, we got to think of a new way. If we're going to heal ourselves and heal our people, like we got to think of new ways to do life. And even this culinary world, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and we did, that was a part of our planning from the very beginning, was that it was going to be not round the clock operations, that chefs and managers wouldn't have to be basically indentured servants to the organization,
right?
And create work-life balance the best we could. Because for us, for me, I'm a behavioral health tech and I facilitate therapeutic groups every week, all the time. I have to be okay. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I have to take care of me to take care of others. And when that became apparent coming into the organization with the treatment center, man, I immediately sensed it, and I had to unlearn that sense of urgency that I carried with me like a badge of honor.
Right.
I had to unlearn it and realize that, I'll say, like, if you were my employee, and you were working like crazy, which is good, but I would say, like, you are more important than the work.
Right.
The work is always going to be there for us. You are more important to the work than take care of yourself, because we need you to stick around.
Yeah.
Things like that were important to add in. And so we're open Monday through Friday, 7 to 3. And we do special dinners on the weekends sometimes, like tonight, tasting dinners.
Yeah.
It's fast casual, great quality food, very reasonable prices. And we hope to expand food vocabulary and build skills. And I'm really I'm really proud of our team. Our team are awesome. They can operate with me there, without me there. It took a long time for us to get there.
I think
it is because of what you said, of eliminating those components of threat, anxiety, dehumanization, and all those things.
Yeah.
Where we want to build leaders, not followers.
And then you also run NACA, the Native American Culinary Association. And so what's that work involve, and what are you seeing, because following you on Instagram, you travel, you're in a different place, a lot, it seems, and so like, how is that work continuing to build, and what are we seeing with the resurgence of an interest in Native American culinary?
Well, NACA is a grassroots network of people,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very active from like the moments I write about in the book. And I pulled back from it in 2015 because I kind of sensed it was getting too mainstream.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being a skater and punk rocker, I'm like, I don't need that.
Right. Yeah.
but like we started out to hold conferences and symposiums,
Mm-hmm.
like no like official membership. You know what I
Right.
mean? No
Yeah.
dues to pay, none of that junk. It was really just gathering in the spirit of ceremony. Because when you gather people, you get to see characters and you realize that, they're just like me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we did with those conferences, and it was very powerful. And over the years, just kind of focused my work to everything I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And so haven't done too many conferences in the past.
Okay.
But everywhere I go, I'm still, incognito NACA founder. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I always say it's covert operations and wellness.
Yeah.
But maybe this year we're going to bring it back. There's been some discussion to do some conferences or symposiums again with a few of the characters that were involved long ago.
Yeah.
But I included it in the book because I wanted to timestamp the grassroots work that we did together, and the impact can be seen today when you follow a hashtag Native Chefs.
For sure. And we are seeing that resurgence. I think, Sean Sherman at Owami, as people know him. But I'm curious, like, with the continued elevation of Native cuisine, like, are you ever worried it's just going to become performative? Like, meaning that, it's going to become trendy. And I've had the privilege of eating at Owami, and it's beautiful food, awesome service. But like, how do we make sure in this, elevation of Native cuisine that it doesn't become performative, where it's just hip and cool to go and post on Instagram, or without learning the story? Like, how do we elevate the story over the food?
Oh man, that's going to be a tough one, because that's really what the culinary industry is built on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Is performative Italian cuisine, performative Vietnamese cuisine, performative French cuisine for a certain class of people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That can afford it, or that have the vocabulary to understand it and get it. You know what I mean?
Yep, for sure.
And so I think that's probably unavoidable. And who those practitioners are, I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not going to name names or say anything like that, because we're at the beginning of this thing. We're an ancient cuisine that revolutionized the entire world, but we're also, in a professional standpoint, in its infancy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're just at the beginning of this professional Native chefs in professional kitchens for like 3 generations. But we've always been in the kitchens. Indigenous people are the backbone of all kitchens around the country and in the world.
Yep.
So I think we're just going to have to wait and see. I think people are going to have to hear interviews like this, read books like mine, and know that, like I said, man, it's not just the ingredients of a dish. It's like the ingredients of a chef. You know what I mean? Like, what's someone really about? Do they want that, or do they want this? You know what I mean? Like, because like for me, I probably could do like I could have went to DC and did that thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it would have been a catapult.
Yep.
But my heart was broken and healing, and I wanted to do something different. And I think recovery is cool. I think mental health is cool.
Yep.
I think behavioral health and that whole quagmire interplay of health, wellness, and wounds is amazing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go that direction. That's what I wanted, So it's hard to say who's going to choose what,
No, it is. It's just something I was wrestling with as I was preparing, of like how the story is important, and, how do we continue to right the wrongs of history without it becoming just virtue signaling, or, but uplift the story. And I think what you're doing is so vital and important. And because you write towards the end, one of the quotes I love is, like all living beings, we humans need to eat for survival, but the foods we consume are so much more than a list of nutrients and calories. They're fragments of history and memory, manifestations of our ancestors' wisdom and intelligence, a tangible connection between our bodies and the cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's what food is. It's this reminder of who I am and how I'm tied to this beautiful, messy earth.
Yeah.
You know,
You got to have like that perspective or worldview, or appreciation. And you can be taught it to kind of see it that way. But when you kind of inherently get it, it's like you begin to see that it's very deep. And I like to say in my classes for all ages, whether it's elementary school kids for a cooking demo, whether it's health professionals, I say, I put up my hand and I say like, food is history, culture, language, farming, science, history, you know what I mean? It's politics, it's health, all these things. You turn on the stove, they just go like that.
Yep.
They all collide. And it's up to you to choose whatever lesson you wanted because you want to. And it's going to be that powerful. And it is. It's cool, man. I dig it.
No, I dig it too. And I love the story you're writing for yourself. And that, in the introduction to your book, you write that at points you couldn't imagine a new story for yourself. And yet you find yourself now 15 plus years sober that you've imagined and you are creating a new, beautiful story for you and your community, it seems.
Yeah. And I think back to that, like, performative question, I was kind of grinning, thinking like skaters would just say no posers, man.
Right. Yeah.
But if you're about it, you're about it. If not, we'll spot you.
Yeah. No. And you can, you can share the cuisine, and what people do with it is up to them, and hopefully people take the time.
It is. But our generation of people is more conscious to how people are practicing it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And I think the performative and appropriation side, if someone is just ignorantly tagging names to dishes with no background or no roots or no connection to community, people will see it and they'll call them out. Unfortunately, sometimes they're supported, you know what I mean, because of the story they create. But we'll just have to wait and see. It's like years ago, I was thinking, is this going to be, like 2000, 2001? I was like, is this going to be like Santa Fe Indian art someday?
Right. Yeah.
And we're getting there, you know what I mean? And there's that phenomenon of the tourism style interpretation of native art and the mass production of that and the appropriation of that. There's also still real grassroots art out there. You just got to seek it out,
Yeah. No, for sure. I appreciate that. What's the story you want the table to tell?
Oh, man. I think the story I want the table to tell is that recovery is possible. It's real. It's there's to help us to eliminate the stigma around mental health.
Yeah. And
that recovery is a process. It takes a long time. That's primary. I think the second thing I want the table to say or put on the table is that native foods change the world. Yeah. 75% of the foods you eat every day or go into any American grocery store are indigenous cultivars.
Wow.
And that says a lot, just that. I think people that want to get into native foods, they ask me all the time. I say, just learn to identify indigenous cultivars, and you have a wide range of color, nutrition, history, and flavor.
Yeah.
And then the journey begins,
It does.
But I guess lastly is follow your passions, do what you love. Don't lose sight of that youthful side of yourself. Keep yourself young, disciplined. You know what I mean? I want listeners of all ages to be able to do that. I think it really helps your mental health and your self-concept and identity as you move forward, as you age gracefully.
No, I appreciate that. Well, a few fun questions to end on about food. Is there one food you refuse to eat?
Oh, man, I don't think so. I think, let me see. Is there one food I refuse to eat? Gosh. Yeah, man, like if you read the book, I've been in some down and out places, eating some pretty grimy stuff, slop in jail, homeless on the street. So I don't know, man. I think I got a sense of humility when it comes to food. Fortunately, I don't have any food allergies.
Okay.
I think there's maybe some dislikes, but even then, I'm not gonna push it away and say, ew.
No, right. I understand. Yep, that's fair.
Let me see. Let me think about that. What's something I won't eat? Man, well, I guess if something is rancid, then I won't. That's
Yeah,
obvious. But
that's fair. Yep.
man, let me see. I don't know. I I'll try anything once. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Well, I won't eat snake. That's one thing. Hell yeah, I
Okay.
won't eat snake. I won't eat bear because snakes are bad because I'm Apache and Navajo, and bear is a clan relative, a family member of mine.
Okay.
People have offered me bear meat before, and I said no.
Wow.
I went to a restaurant in Phoenix that we were about to use their fryers as a project,
Yep.
and I looked up on the menu because the menu was kind of above like a cafe setting.
Yeah.
And I looked up, it said fried rattlesnake bites. I'm like, oh shit, don't put that in that,
Yeah.
that fryer. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because that's
Okay.
rattlesnake's been in there. That's a really bad taboo. So I
Okay.
guess cultural foods I won't eat are like snake and bear. There's probably a
Okay.
couple of others that are not coming to my mind, but
Yeah.
those two come to mind.
I appreciate that. What's one of the best things you've ever eaten?
Oh man, I think discovering pho for the first time.
Okay. Yep.
Like discovering pho. I it I was kind of down and out looking for a job, and I stumbled in at the Mekong Market in Mesa.
Mm-hmm.
And this was when it was real young, back in 2004, whenever that place first opened.
Okay.
And I stumbled in and I got a bowl of pho. And I'm like, what the heck is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just
Yep.
just all kinds of neurons connected, and something
Yeah.
happened. And I eventually taught myself to make it during COVID, and I make good pho.
Okay. Wow.
That's probably one of my favorite things. I got a whole list of foods. It's an unfair question to ask a chef.
No, it is. It is. But there are those things that stand out, like those bites that were transformative.
Yeah, I think pho, I think pho because it's broth. The broth is the best part. It's a
Yep.
labor of love. It takes so long to make something so beautiful.
Yep.
And my kids love it. I make it all the time.
Yeah.
It's cool.
No, a good bowl of Asian noodles is still one of my favorite, whether it's Chinese, Japanese, Thai
Yeah.
noodle.
Mhm.
Asian noodles are my love language.
Yep, yep, I hear you.
Yeah. And then finally, there's a conversation among chefs about last meals. And so if you knew you only had one last meal to enjoy, what might be around your table, Nephi?
Oh man. Probably some racket bread.
Okay.
Western Apache racket bread, some acorn stew, big old fat ribeye steak.
Yeah.
Green chili.
Okay.
Some Perrier.
Perrier, yes.
And I don't know if I'd have anything sweet. Maybe like a chocolate hazelnut torte with soft ganache, salted soft ganache, and espresso.
Yeah. Briefly, for our listeners, what is racket bread? And
racket bread is it's one of our favorite breads in Apache land. It has many aliases.
Okay.
In Apache, it's Bunditane. It has a bunch of aliases: racket bread, outside bread, donkey bread, bubble bread. And it's called racket bread because it's cooked on a tool that looks like a tennis racket.
Okay.
It has a long metal handle and a round piece of metal, and there's wires woven into it, so it's like a handheld grill.
Okay.
And ladies put it on white hot coals of oak or juniper.
Okay.
And they make a flatbread dough with flour, and they put it right on that racket directly on the coals. It gets nice and smoky and charred and caramelized, and it goes with anything. It soaks up soup, stews, fats, everything. Yeah. It's good.
Sounds delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Nephi, I've really appreciated the time, your story. If people want to learn more about you, where might they find you or learn more about the work you're doing?
Come check me out on Instagram. That's usually where I'm most active. I have a Facebook account, a LinkedIn, but I don't really go there too much. It's just kind of entertainment channels to me.
Yeah.
So the one I'm most on is Instagram. We'll be doing a few Instagram lives in association with Penguin Press.
Okay.
We'll be doing a couple small snippets of videos. We'll be posting some more pictures, and I want to answer some more questions. Yeah. You can go on to my Instagram and look at book tour dates as well.
Yep.
I'll be in Oakland. I'll be in Seattle. I'll be in Washington, D.C. I'll be in Flagstaff. I'll be in Albuquerque. Yeah, nice. Hopefully the book will stimulate more interest, and you'll see me around a little more.
Yeah. Yeah. For my Flagstaff friends, he'll be at Brightside Bookstore. I think it's August 3rd. I saw, because unfortunately I'll be out of town and won't be able to to make it. But yeah, if you're in Flagstaff, August 3rd, Brightside Bookstore.
Send them all.
Send them all. Well, Nephi, I really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing a part of your story and what the work you're doing to heal people and to continue your journey of healing.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun. I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you all in Flagstaff for our book tour event.
Yeah. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing it with others. Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Biggest Table, where we explore what it means to be transformed by God's love around the table and through food. Until next time, bye.